Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Hey all, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Tuesday, July 12th, 2022. Sorry, my friends, we took a day off yesterday for a little mental health break. It needed to happen, but we are back in the podcast saddle, as they say. I'm Jer Stays, and across the table from me is Fletcher Sharpe. How are you?
Dealing with the fact that I realize that I can actually be sunburned.
Really?
Little unfortunate time for me.
Oh, that is unfortunate. That is definitely unfortunate. We have a lot to talk about in all things soccer and a little bit of Pistons as well. And I want to get into it. Detroit City FC has a 1-0 win off of a goal from Connor Rutz. I mean, we're hanging in there, man.
I was actually really impressed with the way they played the first half. I know it was only 1-0, but they played so gritty and well to the point to where Indy 11's halftime show with the coach was essentially him calling out his players and saying that was an embarrassment of a half. We can't come out and play like that. The players that want to be on the field will be the ones that actually want to be on the field for the second half. And lo and behold, he made 2 subs very quickly. He was very not thrilled with the way they played. That showed that Detroit came in there with a plan. Unfortunately, at the end of the first half, Devin Mensah suffered a little bit of an injury and had to be subbed off the field, which is not great given that Steve Carroll, who was there on the sideline watching for Detroit, was also unable to play after going down with what seemed to be like not much of an issue. So Devin, who up until that point, the commentators kept reminding everyone, Devin, up until that point, had played every single minute for Detroit City, including the U.S. Open Cup, including the friendlies. So him not being back there might be a little bit more of a problem than, say, Stephen Carroll, because we've seen how they function without Stephen Carroll, and like a little sketchy at times, but works well enough. Devin, he at the moment right now is my current Black Arrow Award, which is with Detroit City FC, named an award after Gil Scott Heron, or Gil Heron, not Gil Scott Heron, I'm sorry, the father of Gil Scott Heron, who was a famous black soccer player for Celtic, the first black soccer player for Celtic over in Europe. And honestly, the amazing part about Devin being chosen as would be wearing the A if this is hockey is the fact that literally a year ago, he was helping to captain Michigan Stars. So the fact that a player can come over from another franchise and be the backup captain shows how much faith the team has in Devin, because typically captain is typically voted on by the manager and maybe some of the front office staff. But the assistant, that's one that's like earned from the team. The team picks who their next few people are going to be to represent them. So the fact that Devin is second instead of Nate, who used to be the shoe-in choice, he's probably now third, which isn't a slight. That just means that they trust this guy as much as this other person, which that's just amazing to think about, because a year ago he was tackling them and now he's high-fiving them after they score goals.
Trevor James did not travel for this. He was sick, right?
Found out maybe about 20, 30 minutes for the game that Trevor would not be there because he was feeling under the weather. Hopefully he's feeling better. Obviously, the team must have thought it must have been bad enough for him to stay home, which is good because we don't want to spread whatever it is to anyone else, because with how today is, any sort of sniffling could be thought of as COVID, and we don't really want to put that on people.
You know, you mentioned Nate Steinwasser. I want to talk about him a little bit. There's a couple of statistics that people out there on the internet are pointing to when it comes to him. One is the race for the Golden Glove, which he's in 6th for, and then another, which is his number of saves, which he is 3rd in the USL Championship. It's great to see a player like that make such an impact with Detroit City, although you kind of look at those stats a little differently.
At the end of their game, he was actually in 2nd place, but someone came in and made a few more saves to slide right above him. I kind of look at the Golden Glove race, which is used with goals allowed, as more of a kind of the quarterback wins stat, where it's the entire defense who stops a goal from happening. It's not just the keeper. Yes, the keeper is the one who gets the blame and the glory, because he's the one who typically makes contact with the ball. But there have been plenty of games in soccer, even with Detroit for sure this year, where they've had a shutout and Nate's only faced like 2 or 3 shots. And he gets the shutout, but like the defense doesn't get anything. Devin, Steve, Michael, Matt have all been playing spectacularly as a back 3, with Reese and Declan and Mike performing some coverage on the outside. They've been playing spectacularly to make sure that chances are cut down. So while I think Nate is deserving of the quarterback wins of goalkeeping stats. I do think the defense deserves some credit for every keeper on that list. Saves, on the other hand, saves is more of a keeper stat because it's literally measured. If a ball is on frame, does the keeper make contact with it to keep it from going into the net? And Nate currently has 53 saves this season in about 17 or 18 games. So that's a little bit high. A little bit means he's facing maybe a few more shots than you'd like on average, but it means he's keeping them out of the net. And one of the people above him is Newton for El Paso Locomotive, who is the current saves leader in USL soccer history. So it's not bad to be trailing him in any sort of stat keeping wise.
You foreshadowed this weekend a little bit. We have Monterey Bay. We're going out west for that, a fellow expansion side. Honestly, Fletcher, I know nothing about them.
Yeah, they're led by Chase Boone, goal scorer. He's got 6 goals. Adrian Roboyar, he's got 3 goals, second. Amazing for him is he was signed to Monterey Bay's roster like literally a month before the season started, and he was like one of the open tryout players who came to the field, balled out, and they're like, we're gonna give you a spot to play. Because I looked up some stuff on him. The last thing you hear about him is playing in 2018, 2019 in college, and then nothing. And then all of a sudden he's a pro player. So that just shows that good or bad the team, you still can find some diamonds. Because coming from playing with your friends, playing in some high recreational level, maybe some smaller competitive level teams, is not the same as playing against professional players. So to score a goal at all, let alone 3, it's a pretty good haul. And their captain and most important player, in my opinion, and someone who I thought Detroit might have looked at to sign, given how important he was, defenseman Hugh Roberts, who came from Charlotte Independence, who moved on to the USL League One. 3 goals as a center back, which is nuts. I'm pretty sure probably 1 or 2 of them from penalty kicks because he's also one of their default takers. As good as a player as Hugh Roberts is, he's like, wherever he goes, he commands respect. Anywhere he goes, he gets the armband. When he showed up to Monterey Bay, it was no question. They're like, we're signing him. That's our captain. We don't need to look at anybody else. That's our captain. As good of a person as he is on the field, he's an even better person off the field for social justice causes, handling many things to make sure all voices are heard. A really top quality player, someone I thought Detroit really would look at signing until I saw how much Monterey Bay was going to pay him. And I'm like, that makes sense why he's not here. Monterey Bay currently sitting at the bottom of the Western Conference with not the best record. I will say in their last 10 games, though, they are 4 wins, 1 tie, 5 losses. Their 4 wins have come against Las Vegas, Louisville, Colorado, and Orange County. So that's 4 really good teams, 1 being last year's champion, 1 being one of the odds-on favorites to win the championship, 1 being the team leading the Western Conference currently, and then Las Vegas, who's just an exciting offensive team. So while they might not be doing great, their last 5 games, they've taken 13 points. So maybe don't overlook them so much. They have scored 23 goals, which is kind of close to how many goals Detroit City FC has scored. They've just given up 38. They will bend, they will break, but they also might sneak some past you. So just to be aware that they will be playing with a chip on their shoulder, kind of flying a little bit high, coming off a 1-0 win against Orange County. I think Detroit wins 3-1. I think Chase Boone probably finds a net there, but I think if Detroit keeps the pressure on, no matter who's at center back, I think they'll be fine to get the ball up and play well and put it in the net.
Now, we are recording this on Tuesday, so we may have limited information, but how much do you think DCFC's injury situation is going to play into this? What do you know, and what do you think might happen when we get to Saturday evening?
The way Steve Carroll went down, I don't see him taking the field for quite some time. We have no definite timetable. Has been rumored maybe about 8 weeks, 9 weeks.
Ooh.
I've seen up to as little as 3 to 4, as much as like 12, looking at the injury that he might have. Cross your fingers. Maybe it's just, what a scare moment where he came out thinking it was worse. The following day, it's a bit better. He was on the bench with Detroit City. He was not dressed to play, obviously, but he was on the bench, which is a good sign. That means he can travel. There's some injuries where you cannot travel like that. So it's good to see him there, regardless of whether he plays or not. I think similar with Devin, I think his presence being there will offer a calming to an extent. It means that someone's going to have to play center back who doesn't play center back. Whether that means Michael Bryant's going to have to come back to center back a bit more as opposed to the midfield where he's been excelling. It might mean Reese might have to flip inside a little bit. It means they might change the formation. It means Dominic Gasso might play. I'm sure he was signed because they needed bodies, but also they trust him enough to like be on the roster officially. He might get some playing time in. I mean, again, I'm not looking down at them, but Monterey Bay's record suggests that this is a team that you can make some. If you do have a bit of depth on your roster, this is a team you can make some changes to try to keep going through. If you try to have a bigger roster, I would say yes. Put in some of the kids, put in some of the backup players, maybe put in a few starters just to keep it even. But because Detroit's roster is what it is, put in the people who need to be there to fill in, and everyone else just play the way you're playing. So yeah, Detroit 3-1 should be an exciting game. I don't know if it's gonna be exciting near the end, but I think it should probably start off with some fireworks.
Yeah, and it's going to be a late start. It'll be like 10 p.m. here on Eastern Standard Time, which that's late for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the downside of playing in a real national league is games will be late. Games might be on Saturday. Games might be on Wednesday. Games might be on Tuesday.
Detroit City FC's women's team finished their season. I wanted to talk about it for a little bit, Fletcher, because I think they deserve the attention, although they are not making the playoffs. I think it's notable to see the kind of investments that the club is making on the women's side.
Yeah, I assume they'd be the third best team in Michigan, maybe fourth at the beginning of the season. So to see them finish, that's the third best team in Michigan record-wise in their division. I'm okay with it. They were behind Midwest United, located in Grand Rapids, who are very good, and I figured would drum Detroit, and they very much did. And AFC Ann Arbor, who just missed the playoffs, who also are very good. They didn't beat Detroit every time they played against them, but they made the games competitive, and you're going to take your lumps. The women's side, who lost to undefeated division champion Indy 11, 3-0 in Indianapolis. At times, they seemed kind of lost. They had, which is not their own fault. Again, unlike the men's now, the women's now is players are coming from college, you're coming from other places, and kind of being pushed together.
So it's much more of an amateur game.
Right. It's title labeled for this one as pre-professional. But they were led in goals by Kayla Addison and Gabby Poole, 3 goals each. They're led in points scored, so goals and assists. Gabby Poole had 3 goals, 1 assist. Shannon McCarty had 2 goals, 3 assists. Kenna White, their captain, who I expected to do big things because she's been around for a minute. She's played really well. 2 goals, 1 assist in the season. They scored 15 goals in the year, got outscored 22 times in 12 games. That's not really going to get it done. Expected Becca Prisbo to kind of step into being the main keeper. She only got 1 game this year, which is unfortunate because 3 keepers gave up 21 goals in 12 games. It's not terrible. It's not awesome, though. If you can't defend, you won't win games, and their problems stem from them being unable to defend at really crucial points of the season. I mean, it's a step forward. It will be getting harder. I know the USL W League is trying to make a super league for the professional-minded teams. I know people want to play in the pro league if they can. It's going to change a few things within the structure. When we know more, we'll let you know. But yeah, I expect them to take their lumps probably next year too. Grand Rapids Midwest United gets a lot of the better players in the country, and AFC Ann Arbor gets a lot of the better players in the state. AFC Ann Arbor actually had a player who is currently playing for Canada, who will be playing for Canada in the World Cup as one of their defenders. So yeah, like it shows a disparity in players available. Right now, I hate to use this metaphor, it's going to ruffle some feathers, but right now in the Women's League, Midwest United is what Detroit was in the NPSL, and Detroit is what Kalamazoo was in the NPSL, where it's like we get some talented players, we don't get all the talented players because some of them are already indebted to other teams. Some of them might go pro. One of AFC Ann Arbor's best players was a player named Chloe Ricketts, who turned 14 during the season and is training with one of the youth national teams. So she's really good. Until Detroit gets players like that on the women's side, then you might see them maybe miss out in the playoffs just barely, maybe squeak in a little bit. First season against elevated play, they didn't do terrible. It's just you would have liked them to close out some more games and maybe get a few more points.
Before I let you go, we wanted to talk about the Pistons Summer League action a little bit. This team is shaping up to be something that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, the Pistons have been playing really well. I know it's only 2 games in, but they're 2-0. Their draft picks, Jaden Ivey, Jaron Duran look very good. I know a lot of people did not want Keegan Murray, who went to the Kings, who's playing really well for the Kings. Not much of a surprise. I never thought Keegan Murray was a bad player. He's just, he's a more polished player than Jaden Ivey is, maybe slightly. But he needs the ball to be successful. He needs to be the guy. He needs to have the ball in his hand to score. He's averaging about 24, 23 points, maybe like 6 or 7 rebounds, but his shooting percentages are high volume. Maybe he's making a lot of shots, but it also means he has the ball in his hands to take the shot a bit more. Jaden Ivey's been a little bit less shots, a little bit more efficient. Had a little bit of a scary moment when twisting his ankle in the second game. Did not come back, but the Pistons didn't really need him. I don't know if he's going to maybe play the rest of the summer league, which would be fair because we don't really need him to do that. They're both playing really well. I think the Pistons probably don't win still mini games this season, but I think they'll be exciting. Kind of like last year, I think they'll be exciting. I think when they come to town, teams will be paying attention because of Cade Cunningham, because of Sadiq Bey, because of now Jaden Ivey. Isaiah Stewart can do some stuff as well. Killian Hayes is, recovering. He's not still where I think he should be, but I'm not a professional basketball player, so I trust. Jaron Duran will figure out exactly what he needs to do. I wish I'd like to see a little bit more rebounds from a guy who's almost 7 feet, but he's making up for it with defensive intensity. We can live with that. I'm excited. I'm actually enjoying watching summer league games. The flip side, there are a few players who might not be back next year because they're playing not so great. Saban Lee is one of them. You can tell when he's in the game, he's really trying to prove a point that, I deserve to be here, which means I'm not going to pass the ball if someone's open. Might try to force a layup or 2 or 7 because, it's my time. There's Braxton Key, who played at Virginia the year they won the championship, also played at Virginia the year that they were the first number 1 seed to lose in the NCAA tournament. Talented player, defensively sound, takes too many jump shots for me, and I don't want it. And Buddy Boeheim, son of head coach of Syracuse basketball, Jim Boeheim, who I was kind of excited about. 6'6" wing player, can shoot the ball, coach's kid. Perfect intangibles to be the guy who, comes in, shoots a few jump shots, and that's it. And he's not looked like that guy at all, which is fine. He's already signed a contract, so we're going to see him anyways as a two-way player playing for both the Motor City Cruise and the Pistons. But you kind of want to see him get comfortable in rhythm because he's only there to really shoot. And if you're not shooting the ball well, if you're only there to shoot, you're super inefficient and super ineffective, and we'd much rather have a fan shooting at that point. Positive spin to end. I'm excited for the Pistons. Whether they win or not this year, they will still be exciting to watch. If you like watching people who try, if you're one of those guys who like college basketball players, try more than the pros they do, you should buy tickets to watch these people play. They will be trying very hard to show how much that they are a solid team. And who knows, they could try hard enough and luck their way into 40 or 50 wins. Not likely, but if it happens, they're making the playoffs. You heard it here first.
I like that kind of optimism, Fletcher. It makes me happy. All right, Fletcher Sharpe, it's always good to see you. You can find him on the internet at Saint FDW, Fletcher Nostradamus. All right, well, with that, I'm Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.